Everybody, Dr. Marty back again. This is section 3.7. This is going to be 3.7a. So we're looking at absolute value equations. Okay, so you should have learned what absolute value is last year. This is still part of our review unit, but just to remind you what absolute value is. Absolute value looks like this, right? It has these straight up and down lines as symbols. Absolute value is a number's distance from 0. It's a number's distance from 0. It's how far on the number line a given number is from 0. Okay? So in practice, the absolute value is always going to be a positive number. It's always going to be a positive number, and it's how far it is from 0. Okay? Because you can never be a negative number, negative distance from 0. The distance is always going to be positive. Okay? So just a quick reminder of how we do absolute value. Here we have the absolute value of -5. Basically, all the absolute value signs do is they make everything positive. So if something is within the absolute value sign, it's going to be positive. -5 becomes +5. Absolute value of 8 is just +8. Here, the negative is outside the absolute value. So when we apply the absolute value, the +9 stays +9, and then it becomes a negative. The negative's outside the sign. Because it's outside the sign, we get -9 here. Negative absolute value of -9. Interesting. Well, the absolute value of -9 is going to be +9, but we still have this negative, so it becomes -9, so -9 is our answer, right? So -9 becomes +9, but you have a negative on the outside, so it stays -9. Let's talk about solving absolute value equations. Solving absolute value equations, okay? So steps for solving them, pretty simple, okay? You're going to get the absolute value symbol by itself on one side of the equation. So normally when we are solving an equation in algebra, we solve for the variable. But if there are absolute values involved, we're going to solve for the absolute value first. Then you're going to set the equation equal to both the positive and the negative answer on the other side of your equal sign. And then finally, you're going to solve both of those equations. Okay? You're going to solve for the absolute value, get that alone on one side. You're going to set that equation equal to both positive and negative of the other side, and then solve both equations. Let's practice it, because practicing is going to help us understand this most easily. So we get absolute value of x equals 1/2. Well, this is super easy, right? This is already alone on one side of the equation. The absolute value symbol is alone on the left side of the equation. We're going to set that equation equal to both the positive and negative answer over on the other side. So we've got x equals 1/2. That's the positive, right? And then our negative is going to be x equals -1/2. Well, that's all we have to do here. That's really straightforward, okay? Well, here's going to get a little bit more interesting. Here we have example 2, absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9. First thing we have to do is get the absolute value symbol by itself on one side of the equation. So we got to solve for the absolute value of x. Subtract 2 from this side. To do that, we subtract 2 from that side. We get absolute value of x equals 9 minus 2, or 7. Now, set the equation equal to both the positive and negative answer. Positive is going to be x equals 7. Negative, x equals -7. So for every absolute value equation that we have, we're going to get two answers. Okay, unless it's a situation where it's a no solution, which I will talk about in a little bit. Okay. Let's look at example 3 on the second page. Example 3 on the second page. Here we have the absolute value of 2x plus 4 minus 3 equals 12. Minus 3 equals 12. Remember, the first step is to solve for the absolute value symbol. So we're going to solve for this. To do that, we're going to add 3 to both sides. We get absolute value of 2x plus 4 equals 12 plus 3, or 15. Now we're going to set one of these, 2x plus 4, equal to positive 15. And one of them, 2x plus 4, equal to negative 15. Solve those separately. 2x plus 4 equals 15. Subtract 4. 2x equals 11. Divide by 2. X equals 11 halves. That's one of our solutions. Our second solution is over here. 2x plus 4 equals -15. Subtract 4. 2x equals -19. Divide by 2. X equals -19 halves. And we can leave these in fractions. I mean, you can make 11 halves is actually, 5.5 or 5.5, negative 19 halves is actually negative 9.5 or negative 9.5, but you can leave them in fraction form here. Okay. Finally, let's do example 4. We've got 3 times the absolute value of 2x plus 9 plus 12 equals 10. First thing we got to do is solve for our absolute value. We're going to solve for that. First thing we got to do is subtract 12 from both sides. Okay, we get 3 times the absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals 10 minus 12, or negative 2. Now we got to divide by 3. We get absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals negative 2/3. Now, our next step is to set the absolute value of 2x plus 9 equal to the positive and negative of the number. But we've got a problem here. Anything inside absolute value signs is always going to be positive. Always going to be positive, right? So the result of anything inside absolute value is always positive. Okay, right? So the absolute value of negative 8 is always going to be positive 8. Absolute value of negative 32 is always going to be positive. Well, here we have absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals negative 2/3. Can anything inside an absolute value ever equal a negative number? No. There's no number, no value you can plug in for x here that will then, after it goes through the absolute value, give you negative 2/3. You can only ever get a positive number. What that means is there is no solution. No solution. Okay? So if you ever get absolute value of anything equals negative anything, this is no solution. I'm just going to put an x here, some number c. X, the absolute value of something, can never be negative. All right, so that's all we need to know about absolute values.